Adafa, servant of El. The people were instructed by a servant Adafa on how to set up sacrificial offerings and on how to sight the new moon. But he was so in tune with the other worlds. He was constantly teaching about the relationship of Enosites to the universe. For he was our first astronomer, who was teaching the ancient sciences of ancient biology that was accepted in those days and on up until the universal changes. Writing and tailoring were also first introduced into the society by our servant Adafa. Always remembering the beauty and power of Elyon El, he worshipped his creator 12,000 times a day. He was always in tune with the celestial bodies, and he constantly talked with the Anunnaki extraterrestrials. As I, Adafa, revolved around the skies, I restrained Saturn for 30 days, and I became acquainted with the truth and the necessities of the upper realm. I have ascertained the secrets of the invisible world. Adafa was on the mothership, one of the many motherships that visited the earth realm from time to time with the masters or extraterrestrials. Blessed with the ability to prophesize, Adafa informed the people of the number of newsbearers who would be born and sent into the world. He also taught them about the coming of Nephishtim and the flood. Adafa was in tune with the celestial beings that originally erected the pyramids. They were visitors from other galaxies. One of the great pyramids was built to preserve all of his friends' texts during the period of the flood. As previously stated, Adafa was born in the lower part of Tamaray, also called Kemet, or Egypt, in Havilah, Nubia, and he traveled throughout the world. When he returned, the Most High exalted him to the elevated station. In the 30 pages of the Scrolls of Life, in the Sahufat Shil Kotman, pages of Adam, it states that it was preordained that he would be granted life in paradise. The sixth realm. But once while visiting the tranquil and resplendent sixth heaven, a realm set aside for those who have never defected in the way of Elyon El or slipped from grace, the agreeable Anunnaki Sadufat and disagreeable Anunnaki Gadabat, who also accompanied the 16 plane, questioned him as to why he was dwelling on this heaven, which was designed for the elite. The Anunnaki of the disagreeable Anunnaki Gadabat were unyielding with their cynical questions, for they assumed Adafa to be Cadman, who was beguiled by the treacherous Halal, and consequently fell from his exalted position. After undergoing the anguish that was delivered by the unknowing Anunnaki, Adafa's heart swelled and he began to weep. Murdoch, the leader of the Anunnaki, descended from the seventh heaven, which was before the seven veils, before Elyon El, and instructed the Anunnaki concerning the plight of mortals on the planet Earth. And by leave, he directed 3 Garubat of the Anunnaki, Azah, Azaya, and Azael, to descend the earth, so that they could witness the tribulations suffered by mortals. After a short period of enduring the temptations that were allotted to Cadman's progeny, one Anunnaki by the name of Azael began to return. Upon ascending the heavens, the Anunnaki was commanded to apologize to the noble newsbearer Adafa for prejudging his nature. And he was enjoined to say, Ania Jed Basuf, I am very sorry, because this event marked the first time one being had to apologize to another. These words echoed throughout the heavens. It was foretold that all apologies between man and man will come with grave difficulty, and seldom without the word, but which is a subtle retraction. Our servant Adafa yearned to meet the omnipotent nourisher. He often meditated on death, the walking on the straight and narrow path, and the length of time he would have to remain underground awaiting his resurrection. So Adafa eventually requested permission to enter paradise without intervention. So he aspired that his ruh soul should leave him before the great deluge. Each day he became more devout in tafolat, prayer, and his good deeds exceed the merits of all the people of the world who qualified to ascend to the heavens like the Anunnaki. Israel learns about Adafa. When the Anunnaki Israel, son of Anu and Id, became aware of this servant's nature, a desire rose in him to become associated with Adafa, so he sent his aide, Metatron. He obtained the permission from El to descend to the planet Earth in the form of a beautiful woman. Adafa became his most intimate friend and aide. But as the Anunnaki refrained from eating and drinking, our servant Adafa began to perceive he was not from the human species of the realm of Nasut. This is when the Anunnaki revealed himself by saying, "I am the aide to the Anunnaki of death," whereupon Adafa inquired if he had come to take his spirit. He said, "I have come to visit you, being we are ever so proud of you and your disciple Shaik, and to who we give you the greetings of the Anunnaki. Peace be upon you." Adafa asked if he could see what death is, and the Anunnaki of death, having the power by leave of El, took possession of his soul. By standing in front of him and breathing out of his nostrils, he removed his souls out of his nostril, the same way it was placed in his nostrils. Sneezing is the violent discharge of air through the nose and mouth. It is described as an upper respiratory tract cough. A large amount of air is inhaled, 2 liters. The glottis, space between the vocal cords, close off and the body tries to force air through it. Intrapulmonary pressure, which is pressure within the lungs, increases to as much as 100. The pressure in the chest cavity is increased, and as a result, the membranous back wall of the trachea windpipe collapse when the glottis is suddenly open. The difference between atmospheric and intrapulmonary pressure drives air through the passageway because the trachea has been narrowed by the collapse of the membranous back wall. The velocity of air through is great. Adafa sees shoulder. Then Israel translated Adafa's body. Adafa requested that he show him shoulder, also known as Sajin and Carnegie, meaning the land of no return, which is known to you as hell, from the German goddess Hel, goddess of the furthest section of Niflheim, a northern land of ice, mist, and darkness. The entrance of Hell's area is guarded by a dog of the most foul and uncouth behavior named Garm. And after this, Adafa entreated him, manifest before his eyes the wonders of paradise. From the Middle English paradis, from Old French, from late Latin paradisus, from Greek paradisos, garden, enclosed park, paradise, from Avastan, paradisa, enclosure, park, peri, round, and dazi, wall. And by the command of the glorious Creator, Anu of the universe and of the heavens, Enlil, and of the hell, earth, Enki, ruler of the lower world. Adafa, he was seated on the wings and was transformed from body to soul. On the wings in a ship of the Anunnaki of death, so that he could arrive at the heavens and lastly paradise, where he spent an hour contemplating the rivers, the fruits, the pubescent maidens, and the blessed abode paradise, speaking with Hatim, the extraterrestrial record keeper of Ilion. After some time, the Anunnaki wish that our servant Adafa will return from the garden. But Adafa, being aware of the state of the world, sat under a tree of life and refused to reply. While seeking refuge under this tall tree, he resisted all the questions of his guide, saying, "Unless the creator of paradise remove me, I shall not leave this place. I shall not come out from here until the omnipotent, glorious creator of the universe orders me to do so." The Anunnaki yelled so loud that all the hundreds of thousands of Anunnaki called out all the names of all the people that were born. As they called out, each leaf of this tall lit-up tree, which bears the names, the green tree, or what is known to some as the lote tree, or tree of certainty, and the strong winds of their voices blew many leaves to the ground of all that were to die in the great floods. This is the same tree of the 100 boughs in the midst of the moon circles. Meanwhile, El Shadi, the Almighty, sent Murdoch to speak between both of them. Adafa asked about death, and the Anunnaki replied, "Every individual shall experience death." Adafa continued, "I have eaten of the poisons of life, and accordingly none of you will partake of it. I descended to hell, and according to the command of Eliun El, the Most High, the Highest, and I witnessed the concerns of the inhabitants of paradise. Then the divine injunction arrived, and by my permission he entered, and by my permission he acted. Leave him, for the right is on his side. Our servant Adafa was raised to a higher place. So he was taken into paradise, where he worshipped Eliun El in the sixth heaven with the Anunnaki. And they all continued to do what Eliun El commanded them to do until predestination overtook him. So he entered into heaven with the aid of Metatron in a ship called Shan, and he questioned El Rab, the sustainer. And El Rab, the sustainer, answered. Our servant Adafa was immediately separated from his body and was conveyed to the heavenly temple, and he was appointed to worship Eliun El in the company of the Anunnaki. Originally, time was measured by the moon. There were 354 days in the earth year. Our servant Adafa was sent to prophesy for 57 years after the ascension of Cadman to higher life. He received 30 pages and all the doctrines exactly with the teachings of what Cadman received. He had knowledge of the secrets of the heavens and the realm of the spiritual, and how to travel from galaxy to galaxy. He was called by many the father of spiritual teachings, or Sufi, Essenes, Magus, Freemasons today. He was well learned in the sciences of the arts, human nature, the existence of extraterrestrials and our outer celestial beings, and the rotational formation of the planets. The physical appearance of this great prophet was very unique. Picture in your mind a tall, slender, very dark brown, complexioned man with a thick mustache and beard, high cheekbones, and a strong muscular bone structure with a thin layer of skin to clothe it. He spoke very slowly, but his words meant so much. He was always silent and had his eyes raised toward the heavens, except when walking, then his eyes cast downward. He always looked like he was meditating on something, and when he spoke, he moved his pinky finger. Being once asked how a good opinion may be acquired, he replied, by dealing honestly and civilized with everybody. He also asked, what are the greatest blessings, 3 in number? Meekness in the time of anger, liberality in the time of death, and compassion when in the position of power. He also said, "He is wise who despises not three classes of men, his father, the scholar, and a friend, that is our son, Adafa. He is of the truthful. And as for Halal and his 200 sons of Adapa, the breach took place prior to the flood of Utnapishtim, Noah, and they manifested in the physical form that their incurable disease would be apparent to you. For now you see him, as well as feel him, as he lives in your midst. For on the day of standing, you have no excuse for loving him and his. And we too came down and placed our seed in the daughters of mortals, that we may establish a kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. 23 subtle fact first. His dangerous nature makes it imperative that we arrive at an in-depth understanding concerning the ancestry of people. For we must recognize a specific realm of activity assigned to each being, the leopard, and our children of many hues and colors. Many are deceived into thinking that this includes the devil's children, and it means that we fashion you on earth in the likeness of the most precious garden with all sorts of beautiful flowers. And at the end of the strain is the leopard and grafted germ. He is a deceiver who calls himself good, but he is not. For he is a temple in which his father Halal dwells. He will come out in the fourth son of Utnapishtim, second son of Ham. His seed will be known by their lack of color and their leprous disease, cursed from the very day they were born until judgment day. Don't mix your seed with Cain's children, the black devils, nor the sons and daughters of the 200 Adapa, the pale devils, nor the children of the graftation, the Halup, not even the cursed seed of Canaan, who manifested in Utnafish time, who is called Noah, and Noah begot Shem, Ham, and Japheth.